Round 5 team list. Here we are, everyone. Welcome to NRL Fantasy Analysis. We're going to be going through the Knights and the Eagles to start us off. And not too many changes here, apart from the big one here with Talatau Kula, who gets the number 1 spot for Tommy Trbojevic, who is out for 4 to 6 weeks. So we see Christian Tuapolotu. Give that a go. Let me know what you guys are. Let me know what this pronunciation for that one is. Moves into the centres. We're not sure what's happening with Parker. He is in the reserve, so potentially maybe a late in if he recovers from COVID well. So that's that. I suppose he becomes a bit of a buyer cooler, doesn't he? At 220k, after the decent score, his break-even's back to a normal range, so he'll actually make some cash this week with anything over a 15-20. So he becomes an option. Up against the Knights, how they're going to go, I think it'll be a pretty even contest, so we'll speak about him in further detail in other videos, but he definitely should be on people's radars, that centre wing fullback cover as well. So, yeah, definitely a good option there. On the rest of the Knights side, we've got, Curdy Mann, who's still a good option. Randall's been great. Brody Jones gets his spot. Frizzell's named, even with that coming off early with the hamstring tightness. So I imagine he seems like he's probably fine, which is good for anyone who owns him. And, Clifford's in there, and he needs a bit of a bounce back game fantasy-wise, or he's probably on the chopping block this week. Ponga, if you own him, I think it's going to take him a few weeks to get back to normal. So whether he's a trade or not, I'm not exactly sure. It's whatever you think's best. If you don't have any wing fullbacks, in terms of any cover, then it's probably worth a hold. But against Manly, he could struggle a little bit as well if they just try to nullify him a bit. But DCE, awesome option. Davies going to make a bit more cash for the foreseeable future. We don't have any talk on where Schuster is yet, so I suppose you got a little bit more time for him to make some cash in a pretty big minute role, but we'll see how that pans out. If you're looking at the bench for the Knights there, you've got Momasia still there, so he probably takes 15 to 20 minutes off Brody this week. I'd suggest Brody gets a few more minutes than 52 though, and potentially a better score. He is going to be up against Olakuatu though, so it could be a tough assignment, but he was the only one with no missed tackles last week, so we'll see how he goes. In this one, I'd definitely be playing him again and see how you go there. But anywho, we move on to the Warriors and the Cowboys. So we have Reece Walsh, who's just been, really, really good. It's just so silky. He's a great player to watch. He should have a pretty nice day out against the Cowboys. Just Jesse Arthur's, a few people are mentioning him. He is definitely playing really well. So if you're looking to get some full wing fullback cover, he's center as well, then he could be a solid option for sure. But definitely not someone that you should be sorting your sights out for. But he's going to be solid anyway. They're a much better team with SJ, especially those guys on the right. So he's obviously going to benefit a little bit there. In terms of the rest of the guys, Aiken I think is a hold this week, guys, and for a few more weeks. He hasn't lost any money. He's made a little bit. I think that's enough said to for him to hold a spot in your side. Joshy Kara moves back to the 13 role. Just some interesting ones here. The biggest one here, Adam Fanua-Blake's been moved to the reserves for no reason other than it sounds like he's just been dropped. Same with Jazz Tavanga. We don't see Jazz on there as well. You look at the notes here. I just said he's dropped to the reserve list. So I'm not sure if anything's going to come out on this, but Bradley Sirena moves to the edge. Curran's in a lock. So Jazz is out with Murdoch Masilla as well. So I'm not exactly sure what's happening with those two. Let me know if you have any idea. And on the Cowboys side, we see Hamiso out with his month-long injury, and Drinkwater gets his spot at the back, which I think is going to be solid. Hopefully he's been training a little bit there in amongst Six as well. Obviously Six is more of a running role for him, so I think he's going to do well at the back. And it'll be interesting to see this game and how close that it actually gets between those two teams. So yeah, really very interesting overall. Anyone else in the Cowboys team? I think Gilbert, he gets that spot in the 11 again. I don't think you worry too much about him. I think he should be able to get some big minutes again. Obviously Lukey has played some big minutes, throughout the year, whether it be 40 to 60, somewhere in there. And, in 2 of those games, it didn't affect Tommy. So I think, the same thing could happen again. Tanua Brown moves into the starting side. Lolo moves back into 13 and Cotter goes to interchange. So if he stays in that position at number 16, I can see probably 50 minutes, and I think you can hold off on bringing him in. As much as he's going to be really busy, I think there's someone else, a little bit later down the track in this game that will be a better option for your side, and someone I've been pretty high on for a while, especially in the preseason. And that's going to be Kobe Hetherington. So we see Carrigan out. He's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks there. We've got Kobe moving to 13. We also see Flegler out. So big minutes are available for the middles here in the Broncos, and that's going to be obviously Payne Haas. It's going to be Hetherington. And then you're going to see some mins for Ryan James, for Corey Jensen, who aren't going to be playing big minutes. They're not guys that are going to come on and get 50 minutes. So I expect some 50 to 55-ish minutes for Kobe, I'd say, would be really nice, even more if possible. So I'm putting him as probably close to the buy of the week for Kobe. I'd probably almost have him over Cooler. Just for the points production, I think Cooler you can get a 30-odd maybe at best. Let's just say at best. But it's going to be somewhere between a 20 and a 50 for Cooler, where I think Hetherington's pretty safely going to get you 45, 40 plus, with upside to around that 60 mark. And has already begun the money-making process, even with that lower score last week. So I think he's probably a little bit more urgent. Unless you need some wing fullback cover, then you could go Cooler. But anyway, we'll explain that a little bit further when we deep dive into those guys. Billy Walters gets the 6 role as well. So if you needed some halves player, maybe an extra interchange player, then you could probably play Billy this week, even though it's up against the Roosters, who is going to be a fairly tough game. But on the Roosters side of things, nothing too much changes. I think Watson, you could probably potentially move on if you wanted to from him. There's a fair few guys doing really well. Same with Crichton. He's on the bench again. I think you can move on from him. I'd probably hold off on Joey Manu until a little bit closer to Origin. He's had his first amazing game. Probably is a good chance of doing it again, but he had the two tries. He's not going to do that every week. Just be aware of that. We move to the Raiders, and nothing really changes on their side of the ball. Tom Starling's still there. Schneider's still there. They come up against Storm, so it'd be interesting to see if you'd play Schneider in this one. If you're starting to build a pretty strong side, it might be very interesting if you want to play him. But he's had his low of 34 this year, and he's been scoring really well. So might be ideal just to plug and play him. He's going to get plenty of tackles, probably a few misses as well. I'm not sure if there's going to be too much attacking side of the ball for the Raiders with how good the Storm's been going. But that's that. They need to build their combinations a little bit better than what they have, unfortunately, at the moment. But the Storm side of the ball, perhaps, such a great player. You won't get 100 every week. You probably won't do it this week against the Raiders. It's always a little bit of a closer game between these two, a little bit more scrappy, which we've seen, with them against the Sharks, for example, over the years. So this, you could see a bit of a closer game in this one. Xavier Coates probably won't be doing anywhere near as well as his 48 last week, somewhere around the 30 mark, with still the odd try or try assist would be there. I expect a much bigger game from Munster this week. And Hughes, I think, is definitely a hold. Harry Grant, we want, be looking for a bigger game from him as well. And Josh King maintains the 13 role. So that might change, on game day with Smith coming back into 13. But, Smithy's still getting that 50-odd minutes off the bench anyway. So, King's probably a 50-minute guy these days and somewhere around that 35 to 40. So you keep milking him as a cash cow. He's doing really well. Okay, Bunnies and the Dragons. So this one here, if we're looking at the Bunny side of things, I think Ilias is, going to start making some cash now. Coming up against the Dragons, he didn't do too well last week. I think he can get somewhere in that 30s this week and potentially be a player that you can start in your 17. So very, very interesting call there, but I think he's definitely going to start making money, and I'll be holding on to him from here on in. Arrow, a few people looking at trading on. I think you can hold him for a few more weeks. He's been moved around a fair bit with some of the injuries they've got. So if he can continue to play that 50-odd minutes in the middle, I'm expecting somewhere in the 45-ish range. So still a tiny bit of cash to make if he's getting somewhere near that 50 mark. But you can just plug him in as a decent scorer and not have to worry. But if you're looking to get to a Cleary or something, then of course you can use him. But I'm thinking he's a bit of a hold at the moment. Murray, again, if you're looking to pick him up, he's going to do well, naturally. Will he get 75 and 80 every week? Probably not, but somewhere around that 60 mark would be pretty safe, like you've seen with Curran, like you've seen with Isaiah Yeo. They have that couple of massive games and then they come down to earth a little bit. So that's what I expect from Murray. Their interchange isn't too crazy. We've got Taff on the interchange, which is cool for him. David Moale is in there, so he's on watch with Nichols out at the moment. Do we end up working out how long he's out for? I see Jackson Bolo as well. He's in the reserves, which is annoying after getting a concussion. So Mansell's in as well. Nichols out for okay, he did syndesmosis. So David Moale over the next few weeks comes a bit of an option. If he can, we can work out how many minutes he's going to get. In terms of this bench here, you've got really the couple of middles with Moale and Knight, and then you got Host being that edge cover playing that 30-40 minutes. So if he can get anywhere over 30 minutes, he's got a great PPM and he's going to get on everyone's radar for sure. The Dragons name the same squad, and Amone is on the interchange, so I think you have to move him on. He's not going to get the minutes that you need to do well, unfortunately. Titans and the Eels here. Titans named the same squad. Both of them all back after getting COVID, which is great. So I'd plug him straight back into your starting side. And they lose Brian Kelly. So they got the Sammy and the Paddy Herbert combination there, which will be fine. But I think the Eels can put a bit of a score on him. Do you give Sexton another crack? I think you do. But if you're looking to get use him to get to Cleary, I'm not going to be against that either. Those are looking to move on for feeder, I completely understand. Not going to push you either way. You can sit him as a hold, and if you need him to go to someone you really want or downgrade him or whatever, you can do that as well. I'm not going to push you against that. Just don't be chasing points like with Brown and Moses. Yes, they probably will do decent this week as well, but you can't expect 80 every week from these guys, so don't be chasing points. Reed, I think, is probably a sell. In this game, I can see him just distributing out to the wing, the edges there with Brown and Moses and getting 35 tackles and getting a 40-odd score again. You watch, I'll trade him out there and you'll get 80 or something like that. But is what it is. Papali'i is always a great option. Madison moves back to the bench. Just be aware that could change heading into this game as well, potentially. Sharks and the Tigers, couple more to go, guys. For our Sunday game, they're playing really well. There's no real need to change anything. Talakai is in the centres again. There's no signs of Connor Tracy at the moment, who will probably get his spot back, and Talakai will move to the interchange to come off the bench there. Just be aware of him that, yes, he could potentially score well, but if you look at his centre scores over the years, they've never really been great. A couple of times he's come in off the bench and covered and stuff like that. But plenty of 20s, plenty of 30s for him. So just be aware of that he's not going to do that every week. What he did, the 17 tackle breaks, but he did look in great form and has that potential, but just don't expect it at all times. Nico Hines, I expect a big bounce back game for him. If you've got Teague Wilton, if you're sitting with Nakora, they're going to do well also. This could be a big fantasy scoring game for the Sharks, I think. With Ramey and Malatalo, all those guys doing well also. So that's that. On the Tiger side of things, you get another 1 week from Madden, and then we can work it out what to do from there. Tuolangi, this one is really interesting. On the notes here, let me know if this is correct or not. But Tuolangi has been included in the back row after failing a HIA last week and will be monitored ahead of the clash. Wasn't the shoulder? Let me know what you think, guys, and what's going on there. But it's a strange one. I'm not sure if it was HIA or if it was shoulder now. So let me know in the comments if you have any idea what was going on there. But if it's just HIA, then we can plug him in, and probably going to be tackling a lot in this game. So hopefully he can make 40 tackles and get us a decent score. Whether we play him or not in our starting side, remains to be seen. But very, very interesting with that one. All right, so Dogs and the Panthers. Let's finish this off this year. So we got the dog side of the ball. We see Kyle Flanagan, so well done to him. Finally gets his chance to play. The funny thing here is, well, it's not really, I don't know if it's funny or not, but why do they throw him in against the Panthers? They finally have a halfback, a guy that can actually play halfback, and they throw him to the Wolves against the Panthers. I think that's just the most stupid thing. You've already shot the guy's confidence, and then you're going to do that and play him against the Panthers, who they're going to get pumped. They should get pumped in this game, really. So, just really painful to see that. But, good that he's got his opportunity, but annoying in that way. Averillo's still in the centres. Burton might have a tough game again, probably around that 40 mark, but if he can get any kind of attacking stats, he's going to get 50 plus, and I think he's definitely a hold. I spoke about in the last pod that following this week, they got a couple of easier ones coming up through the bye period as well. He shouldn't be playing Origin, so he becomes a decent option there. So a lot of people are going to look to pick him up in that time. He's not really losing any money at this point. He's still scoring okay, so a lot of the top teams still have him, so I wouldn't be stressed too much with him. If you're looking for Pangai Jr., he's not going to score like that every week. It's probably especially against the Panthers, so just be aware that you could probably hold off on him. He's not going to make too much money, even with a 50 this week, so just be aware of that. Maxi King still on the interchange, which is good. On the Panthers side of the ball, Tungo, Crichton, May, the three brothers, absolutely killing it. May's definitely a decent option this week. He could go nuts against the Dogs this week. If he gets anywhere around a 60, he's going to make bulk cash over the next few weeks. And you can do something with that. Be aware that if you're waiting on Cleary, there's a great chance that he scores a ton this week, an 80 plus against the Dogs, and gets an early mark, an early shower, getting 80, 90, 100. So just be aware of that. In terms of the forwards, Fisher Harris is back, which is great. Liam Martin's in there. Isaiah Yeo. I can see this as be a game where Isaiah doesn't play the 80. I feel like he won't need to. They've got Sorensen, they've got Lenu, they've got Kenny to play through the middle there. So I think that this might be one of those games. Hopefully you can do really well for your team before that happens. But there you go, guys. That's the team list for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, got a lot out of it, and we'll deep dive into a bunch of the buy, hold, sells. Some of the guys, especially the guys to buy, go into their stats in detail. But I hope you enjoyed that. Please like, hit subscribe. I really appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.